YouTube world and fellow Shade Tree survivalist. This is Mac Daddy 1911A1. This will be the very final part on our BA Mentor video series. Every other video dealt with learning, choosing a handgun, learning how to use a handgun, all dealing with problem A, as often described by Colonel Jeff Cooper. Problem A is the bad guy, okay, the goblin, as he often called him in his writings, the scumbag of the universe, the whatever, whoever it is or whatever it is that has attacked you or has tried to attack you, and you took the time and effort to purchase a handgun, learn how to use the handgun, and all the different, all the different things associated with it. This video is about problem B, squaring it with the boys in blue or girls in blue, and not getting shot in the process. Okay, this past week we had a fellow that was shot by a police officer. I have not seen the video yet, but I understand that the young man had a concealed carry permit. He was complying exactly with the commands of the officer, and he was still shot 4 or 5 times in the chest right in front of his girlfriend in a car up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, some damn up there. That cop's probably gonna go to jail, and if indeed that is what happened, that is exactly what needs to be done. Man needs to go to jail. That's flat out murder. Just like the situation where the officer shot the unarmed black man who was fleeing in the back multiple times and killed him. The unarmed man that was fleeing. I'm going to read an excerpt from one of the very first books I purchased when I really started to get dedicated about learning to shoot well and learning to concealed carry and so forth. This is the Gun Digest book of combat handgunnery, the 5th edition, and this particular edition was authored by Mr. Massad Ayoob. Now, if you don't know who Massad Ayoob is, you haven't been in the gun community very long, so let me tell you, he's a police officer, he's a legal expert, he is the founder of the American Law Institute, and that right there is an institute that he started to help civilians, non-law enforcement, with the legal aspect of concealed carry, the legal aspect of what do you do if you were involved in a defensive shooting at the scene as well as after the scene in court. And he is an expert witness that goes around and helps defend people and so forth. But I'm going to read a small excerpt to you guys, and I really want you to pay attention now. But before I go any further, I want to make this absolutely, totally, 100% clear. You are responsible for learning the laws of the land wherever you live or wherever you are going to go when you're traveling. Heard a few instances here in the last couple of years where a law-abiding concealed carry permit holder from another state went to visit the World Trade Center site where they have the memorial and the museum and so forth, and saw the signs, no concealed carry, no guns, blah blah blah. They found a police officer. They told the police officer, I'm a concealed carry permit holder and I would like to check my weapon. They were arrested. Okay, because New York City is pretty much a communist run city. You don't have the right to self-defense apparently unless you know someone. And of course we've heard of all the different laws that they've passed in recent years. They thought they were doing the right thing, but if they'd have found out what the laws were before they went there, it would have saved them a lot of trouble. When in doubt, keep your damn mouth shut, and you might want to leave the hell out of that state. Just, there are a lot of states out there who are not friendly whatsoever. I mean, their police forces, their political forces, and I'm not saying all of them, but the rules and the mindset of these are that a person concealed carry who wants to be a concealed carrier basically wants to be a vigilante, okay, which is could not be further from the truth as far as I'm concerned. If you attack me, I will defend myself with whatever force is necessary. You bet your ass on that. And it doesn't matter whether I have a gun or not, I'll kill you with a damn screwdriver if that is what is needed. Baseball bat, dirt in the face, bite, claw, kick, stomp, whatever the case may be, I will defend myself with extreme prejudice. And I will make damn sure if you're not walking away or running away from me, if you are a continuing threat, I will continue until you stop. If I have to stop you permanently, then that is your choice. You have to live and die by it. Onward and upward. Let me pause it for a second. Screw it, I'm going to read the whole thing. It's one small section of this book, but I want to read the whole daggum thing, this section, because we want it to be perfectly understood. Now, this is an older book, and there may be more reference materials out there dealing with our current political climate and the current laws and so forth, but this will get you headed in the right direction. First, ALI, American Law Institute. American Law Institute. You should find those folks on the World Wide Web and check it out, and you can find a lot of legal resources and so forth there. But here we go. Deadly Force Decision Errors. A book could be written about when private citizens may use lethal force in defense or self or others. In fact, it has been. I wrote it some time ago. The title is In the Gravest Extreme: The Role of the Firearm in Personal Protection. Some kind people have called it the authoritative text on the topic, and it is available from Police Bookshelf, P.O. Box 122, Concord, New Hampshire 03302, or online at www.ayoob.com. Ayoob.com. Doesn't have his name on the back. Let me get a close-up of the man's name. That's Massad Ayoob, and if you punch this in to your YouTube browser or your YouTube search box, you will find a heap of videos where Mr. Massad Ayoob is demonstrating all kinds of shooting techniques and different things of that nature. The man is an authority. Okay, that's all there is to it. With only okay, there I've done my part and warned you what you need to study. Okay, so you should really try to get that book, In the Gravest Extreme: The Role of the Firearm in Personal Protection. With only a chapter for this, let's talk about avoiding some of the common mistakes typically made by well-intentioned good guys or gals when they righteously draw in self-defense. Until Lethal Force Institute was founded in 1981, there just wasn't any place a private citizen could go to be trained to the depth police are trained in the discipline the law calls judicious use of deadly force. For decades, there was nothing but either law school or the one end, or macho talk around the Cracker Barrel at the gun shop on the other. And some pretty scary myths were widely distributed that some people take as gospel. Stop shooting when the threat stops. He drew, he fired, he dropped his gun, turned, and staggered away. If you shoot him again now, it is no longer self-defense. You're looking at hard prison time. When the threat stops, the right to use deadly force stops with it. In other words, whether you have shot the guy or gal or not, if they turn and flee, they walking away or running away, you cannot shoot them in the damn back. I just said that earlier with a police officer down here in the Carolinas that shot the unarmed black man who was running away in the back. So he couldn't catch the guy. All right? Maybe the guy gets out and does something else, who knows? But once the threat is stopped, it is no longer, that person is no longer a threat. You do not have legal or moral right, the legal or moral right to shoot them in the back. Number 2, never plant a weapon on a man or woman that you've shot or otherwise alter the evidence. Okay, don't alter the damn scene. Trust me, it will be found. When it is, you lose the critical shield that the law calls the mantle of innocence. If you altered the evidence, you're prima facie guilty of obstruction of justice, which is also a prison term there, ladies and gentlemen. You've also shown the jury you're a lying son of a bitch. SOB is how you put it, but I like to be blunt. Who covers your tracks to hide anything you figure might make you look bad. Do not worry about being embarrassed, ladies and gentlemen. Do not worry about your reputation. Do not worry about any of that crap. Your freedom is more important than all that shit put together. Do you think they're going to believe anything else you have to say if they found that you planted fake evidence or otherwise try to mizzle them, whatever you put that? Not hardly. Besides, some judges will allow the prosecutor to argue the theory that alteration of evidence can be seen as an indication of prior planning of a crime. In other words, premeditated, as in premeditated murder. Okay, don't be screwing around at the scene. Congratulations, you just turned justifiable homicide into premeditated murder. I just said that, so there you go. Number 3, do not leave the scene of the shooting. There is a common law principle that says flight equals guilt. The argument is that a person who did the right thing would have stood his ground to explain himself to the authorities and the community, and only a guilty man would flee to escape what he knew to be righteously deserved punishment. You don't want to fit the latter profile. But there are times when it would make sense to leave the scene of a self-defense shooting. Perhaps there was no hope of getting emergency medical help there, and you had to rush a wounded victim of the crime to a hospital. Perhaps angry accomplices of the downed criminal were closing in to attack you. If the latter happens, as you leave, you should shout at the top of your lungs, "Someone call the police and an ambulance." I'm going for the police and an ambulance. History shows that some decent person who has heard you say that is likely to come forth and testify that it is true. Then head straight for police, ambulance, telephone, etc. If responding police interdict you en route, you want to be able to show that you are indeed heading for the PD, the hospital, or the nearest point of communication. Number 4, carry a cell phone if at all possible, ladies and gentlemen. This technology is to the private armed citizen what the portable radio is to the police officer, in a lifeline to survival and to emergency assistance. I think that was 4. Number 5, be the first to call in if at all possible. If you were a mugging victim who had to shoot an armed robber, ear witnesses might have heard shouts and a pistol shot. They rush to their windows and see you with a smoking gun standing over the body of the deceased. They call in and say, "A man has murdered someone outside my home," and the stage is set. It's not a pretty stage. The criminal justice system is geared to the concept that the person who calls in and reports a crime, the complainant, is the victim, and the person they call to report is the perpetrator. If you don't win the race to the telephone, you can end up being seen as the perpetrator who was reported in a criminal act of violence. Most armed encounters don't end with shooting. Usually when a criminal realizes he has attacked someone who has the power to kill him, if his attack continues, he flees. This is the single most common pattern. The problem is most citizens don't know what to do after they've driven off the mugger or attempted rapist. They just holster their gun and head on for home. But the mugger or rapist knows what to do. He doesn't appreciate this role reversal at all. He's going to ditch his weapon, make a phone call, and say, a crazy person with a gun just tried to murder me. Here's his description, and he describes you. The cops catch up with you. You admit that you pulled the gun on the guy, but he was going to rob, rape, murder you. You tell the responding officers. He was going to hurt you so badly you had to pull a deadly weapon on him? And you didn't call us? Who do you think you're kidding? You're under arrest. Remember, whoever calls in first is a victim, complainant. Whoever calls in second or doesn't call in at all becomes a criminal suspect by default. Remember, the cops don't know they were not there, okay? And the ear witnesses didn't see what was going on or who was doing what or the different voices. And you know, they can't associate the different voice with whatever. So the police have to investigate this. So you have to remember that. You may be righteous, you may be absolutely totally innocent of any wrongdoing, but damn it, they don't know that. And so you have to remember that. This happens when the particular, well, let's back it up. Remember, whoever calls in first is a victim complainant. Whoever calls in second or doesn't call in at all becomes a criminal suspect by default. This happens with particular frequencies these days in road rage situations. Why would the guy who tried to run you off the road call in and lie about what happened? For the same reason he tried to run you off the damn road. He's an out-of-control scumbag. His words exactly. I love it. Face it, they exist. That's why we have cops, and that's why you carry a gun. Let's see, number 5. Number 6, don't be standing there holding a gun with the police when the police arrive. And I'm glad I reread this book. Again, this is the book, and I'm only reading a very small part of it to you guys, but this is from a police officer. This is from a legal mind who really gives a damn, okay? He has his own school, and he has his problem with the camera. Let's just try to finish this up right quick if it doesn't give me any more crap. Don't be standing there holding a gun when the police arrive. Now, I'm glad I picked this back up and reread this section so I could give you guys authoritative text, because I would have said be in position sole watching the bad guy, and that might have got you hurt. So I'm glad I reread this. Please don't just take what I say as gospel, okay? I do not mind. I am not insulted. I am not offended in the least when someone comes up and tells me I've made a mistake in certain areas. Please check other sources. Okay, Massad Ayoob. Massad Ayoob. I've already put his name up there. Please go out and see if you can find videos on this, because this is vital that you know this information to keep your butt from going to jail. Don't be standing there holding a gun when the police arrive. They've been called to the scene by a report describing an armed man there now. You do not want to look like an armed man there now. This is another reason that it is best to carry a holster of good quality and design that allows quick, one-handed reholstering by feel. If at all possible, have the gun already holstered before police arrive. Setting the gun down is not the best idea for a number of reasons. Some tactical, some evidentiary. Okay, now I would have recommended you do that. So, like I said, thank God I decided to reread this book. Now this is a police officer, a high-ranking police officer, telling you don't put the gun down, put it back in your holster. If you have to keep the suspect at gunpoint and officers arrive and you yell at you to drop the gun, do exactly what they say. Drop the damn gun. Make sure you're far enough away from the down suspect that he can't reach it. Now you know yet another reason why professionals carry guns that are drop safe and cannot discharge from impact when they hit the concrete. I think I covered that one aspect of a traditional Series 70 type operating system on a traditional 1911 that doesn't have the firing pin block. Okay, if I were to drop this handgun on a concrete floor or asphalt highway, nose down, with barrel directly down, it would discharge. The weight of the firing pin would be driven forward by the sudden stop, the inertia. Once an object's in motion, it tends to want to stay in motion. That's the reason if you turn a car suddenly to the left or the right when you're hauling butt down a highway, it will flip and roll in the direction you were driving. It's inertia. Same thing with that firing pin. The weight of that firing pin will overcome that spring if you drop it on its nose, and it will fire. Okay, a lightweight titanium will alleviate that somewhat, but a Series 80 or newer, or the type of firing system is your Schwartz safety on the Smith & Wesson and Kimber guns, they will prevent that. They have a firing pin block, as well as most of the striker-fired polymer guns. Don't take it personally. Okay? Do not take it personally. The cops aren't mind readers. If it's any comfort to you, they'll do the same to me. Even if I have my gun in one hand and badge in the other. If they don't know who I am, or even if they're local and can't recognize me in the dark, they don't know the badge is real. I'll be ordered to drop the gun also. He put two, but I'll put also. Believe me, I will. I don't want to be killed in a mistaken identity shooting caused by my failure. This is coming from a police officer now. To comply with the lawful command of a police officer, and neither do you. Onward and upward. I think this is 7. Don't become indignant with the police. They may treat you like a murder suspect. Well, guess what? You are. The officers won't know different until this is all sorted out. If you start yelling and showing off, or in any way resist, you fit the profile of the kind of out-of-control, violent person that injures, that juries like to see just put away in prison where they won't harm innocent people. Okay? Number 8, don't lie. At the scene, you should establish that this man attacked you or your family, your friends, neighbors, co-workers, other innocent bystanders, whatever, and that you will sign a complaint against him. Point out witnesses, if there are any, and evidence that you know about before they disappear. Then politely refuse to discuss the matter further until you have spoken with an attorney. So see, I wouldn't have given you that advice either. I would have said not another word other than your name and that you were defending yourself against this person. And say, I wouldn't have known anymore. So it's a good idea to refresh yourselves on this, and I'm glad I did this, and I'm doing this video for that reason. The time may come when you need to speak. A good lawyer, not a public defender, ladies and gentlemen. A good lawyer, yes, I know it's going to cost a fortune. Is your freedom worth it or not? Just make up your mind now. Do you like to get gang raped up the rear end? You like to get beat down or killed in prison by the people that you were trying to defend yourself against? Would you like that? No? Okay, well, a good lawyer. A good, reputable lawyer. A good lawyer who knows that the prosecutor is honest and reasonable may well advise you, some days after the shooting, that it is in your best interest to speak to investigators and the DA's office personnel. If you choose to do so, and it is often a good idea, make sure the attorney is there with you. Do not speak to them without your attorney. Make sure you have the discussion videotaped by a professional court reporting service. And don't lie about any damn thing. If you don't know the answer to a question, say, I don't know. People feel during an interrogation that they're on the child side of a parent-child thing and feel a compelling need to say something that will satisfy the questioner. Don't fall victim to that. If you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. Be completely honest with your attorney. Now, that was some advice I was definitely going to give. He or she can't help you if he or she gets blindsided by something the other side knows that he or she doesn't. If you think you fouled up in some small way, Tell the attorney privately before police or prosecutors question you. Like I said, under the Fifth Amendment, I don't know if I actually put this, but under Miranda rights and under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, you do not have to say a damn word. They cannot pressure you. I mean, they can try to make you talk and all that, but once you establish this, I have nothing to say to you without my attorney present. It is by law their job to make sure that your attorney, you are afforded your attorney, whether through your own private attorney or the, I just said it a minute ago, the freaking one that they provide, okay? So either way, you ain't got to say a damn thing other than what you stated about, well, I was in fear of my life, and I ended up having this guy assault me, and whatever he said at the beginning. Let's go back over that. At the scene, you should establish that the man attacked you or your family, neighbor, friend, bystander, whatever, and that you will sign a complaint against him. Point out witnesses and evidence that you know about before they disappear, then politely refuse to discuss the matter further until you have spoken with an attorney. You can also, don't be a smartass. Ladies and gentlemen, cops don't like that. I mean, people just don't like that. Don't be a smartass. Damn it, under my Fifth Amendment, right? Blah, blah, blah. Or under Miranda, blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. Just simply state it, flat out. Just, well, sir, under the Fifth Amendment, I'd prefer not to say any more that might incriminate me, and I'd prefer to speak to my lawyer. I will speak to my lawyer first, and that's it. Just flat out, you know, you're not being an ass, but you're flat out telling them this is what this is how it's going to be. If you think you fouled up in some small way, tell the attorney privately before police or prosecutors question you. You can't treat gangrenous tissue. If you ignore it and hope it will go away, it will spread and destroy a healthy limb or the entire organism. Gangrenous tissue must be amputated to save the rest. If you've done something wrong in some small detail, it's survivable. The jury may not like it that in a fear-filled moment you called the striker a filthy name as you pulled the trigger, but they will understand. Okay? Tensions, you know, the adrenaline is flowing, the fear factor. All right. Everything just jerks out, and everybody's gonna say something. I mean, you're really angry that this person attacked you, and you're gonna have fighting words for them. Okay. However, if you say you didn't, and they later find out that you did, they won't believe anything else you have to say, and you are sunk. The jury can accept you're not being perfect, but they'll never accept you're lying to them. All right. I believe this is number 9. Avoid discussing the shooting until it has been adjudicated. Oh boy, I love these big legal words. You drop into the neighborhood tavern for an afternoon beer a week subsequent to having been involved in a justifiable shooting. A friend asks you about it. You begin to speak and say, drunk. And some drunk says, if I'd been you, I would empty the whole damn clip into the effing SOB. What do you want to bet that down at the end of the bar there's a second drunk who's going to remember this conversation as you saying, I should have emptied the whole damn clip in the effing son of a bitch? It would be better if every person in the tavern could testify they heard you say what they heard you say clearly. Thanks for caring, but it was a very unpleasant experience and I would really rather not discuss it. So let's cover that one more time. It would be better if every person in the tavern could testify that they heard you say clearly, thanks for caring, but it was a very unpleasant experience and I would really rather not discuss it. That's what you should say. In other words, don't say a damn thing. You appreciate them offering whatever support that they're going to offer, but you really don't need to speak to it until after all of it is said and done and you're cleared, okay? There is a possibility that you will be arrested after a self-defense shooting and held in custody until things are sorted out. Obviously. Why? Because the cops, if they were not there, they did not witness it. They don't know who did what to whom. Okay? So prepare your soul and your mind and your heart for that. All right? Don't get upset by it. They don't know what the truth is. Their job is to be impartial, if they can, to find out what the evidence is, what it points to, and go from there. Okay? So you may be arrested and booked. Just calm down. I've been arrested and booked. I was calm, cool, collected, and I didn't give any crap, and it was thrown out. Okay? It was thrown out because the evidence clearly showed it was BS. So don't be tripping, so to speak. Overnight stays or all weekend stays are not infrequent, and you might wind up in a common holding tank. Assorted, unsavory people, some of whom will seem like decent folks, will approach you. You don't need me to tell you about the ones who will want things from you that you don't want to give. What we're concerned with at the moment is the friendly guy who asks you, "What happened, buddy?" Don't let the conversation start. There's an excellent chance that you've just been hit up by the resident snitch. He's worried about doing time, and he'll sell his own mother for a good plea bargain. He has already snitched off all his criminal friends and has nothing left to bargain with. Tomorrow morning, he's going to quietly ask to have a chat with a senior detective somewhere private. He'll say, "You know that straight citizen type you brought in last night who's going to tell you he killed that guy in self-defense? Well, he told me he killed the guy because he stiffed him on a dope deal. I'll testify to that in court. If you can just cut me a good deal on my little problem." It's his word against yours. If everyone else in the holding cell will testify, yeah, those guys were talking off in a corner by themselves for half, 3/4 of an hour, it will look as if his lies are the truth. It would be better if all those other people could remember you saying the same thing you would have said in a tavern. "Thanks for caring, but it was a very painful experience and I'd really rather not discuss it." Then step away and keep your distance. Stay solitary. Having to use deadly force against another human being is never pleasant for a normal person. Even for law enforcement officers whose training prepares them for it, it can be one of the most shattering line of duty events in a career that is constantly exposing. Let me back that up. It can be one of the most shattering line of duty events in a career that is constantly exposed to human tragedy. But going through a trial and being wrongly accused will be a more soul-wrenching experience yet, and even more destructive and far more expensive to your loved ones. By avoiding the common mistakes mentioned above, you can save yourself and your family a great deal of grief. I know this better than most people. I've been doing peer counseling with cops and armed citizens who had to shoot people since 1981. When the famous post-shooting trauma psychologist Dr. Walter Gorski taught me in the discipline, Dr. Gorski and I have both seen people who gave up police work or gave up carrying a gun rather than face it. If they couldn't face it, it's probably good that they got out in time, because the possession of a power you aren't fully prepared to command will get you in more trouble than it will get you out of. And not being able to face the aftermath can make you hesitate in a moment when only your intimate and immediate and decisive action can save innocent life. But let me close by reminding you of one thing. Most of the people who know all these ramifications to their ugliest depths, Dr. Gorski, myself, and many, many others, still carry guns. It is a conscious and well-informed decision. We would rather face the psychological trauma of killing a criminal than the trauma of standing by helpless as he murdered an innocent victim. And we know enough not to make the above mistakes that would create unnecessary grief for ourselves, our loved ones, and others, and so do you. Anything this man writes, ladies and gentlemen, Massad Ayoob, he knows what he's talking about. Alright? That's the best legal advice, or the best advice I can give you, because he's the expert. He knows the law. He knows it from the courtroom standpoint. He knows it from the street standpoint as a police officer. He knows how to use a handgun really well. He has his own school and he knows his business. Normally, I would never read anything like that is published like that in, you know, an entire chapter or an entire paragraph or whatever, from a publication like that, because, you know, there's always the infringement part and so forth. But I think that that is the knowledge that any decent human being, any decent lawyer, any decent police officer will want you to know. Okay? They don't want you to make a mistake that could cost you your life when you're only trying to defend yourself. Okay? So there you go. All right, there you go. I hope that it's helpful, and I hope I don't get in any trouble for putting it up here, but I'm going to tell you flat out, I think it will be worth it if it just keeps one of you guys and gals out there who are trying to do the right thing to protect yourself, your family, your friends, your neighborhood, your neighbors, your co-workers, whatever, in a situation that comes down the pike. I think it will be worth it even if I were to get in trouble. So let's hope I don't, but I'm going to put it up there anyway. But anywho, this is Mac Daddy 1911A1 encouraging you to join the National Rifle Association or some other national group on pro Second Amendment rights group. I encourage you to learn your concealed carry permit laws, obtain a concealed carry permit in your state, know which states you can carry that permit in, know which states you cannot, like New York. Okay, be damn careful. Watch your six. I mean, law enforcement is not your friend. They're not your enemy. They have to carry out the laws on the books. Okay, we the people, our representatives, make these laws, and if they're unjust laws and we do nothing about it, it's all on us. Okay, but you have to know the law. You are responsible for that. Not me or anyone else out there is responsible for that. You are. Ignorance of the law is no protection. Period.